Welcome to our new series on Paul M. Warburg's The Federal Reserve System, its origin and growth. If you've ever wondered not just how the Fed came to be, but how its tools and governance were argued into existence, this is your map. This work is organized in two big blocks. Part 1 reprints Warburg's pre-1914 reform essays, and Part 2 collects later pieces split into Series A, written while he served on the Federal Reserve Board, 1914 to 1918, and Series B, post-board, 1918 to 1924. We'll use that scaffolding all season so you can hear the arc from diagnosis to design to real-world practice. Here's the single most helpful framing as we start. Warburg shifted America's reform debate away from more banknotes to better reserves, and he imported the European idea of a rediscount market, a short-term, two-name paper that a central institution can buy and sell to steady credit. Those two pillars, combined reserves and a working discount policy, are what make the Fed a system, not just a printing press. Keep them in mind as we move through early blueprints, the Owen Glass fights, and the post-war essays on governance and international finance. The table of contents alone previews the journey. Part 1 runs from defects and needs of our banking system to the multi-chapter debates over the Owen Glass bill. Part 2. Series A covers the Federal Reserve System and the businessman through the reserve problem and the future of the Federal Reserve System, and Series B extends into acceptance markets, Amsterdam, 1919, inflation, politics, and gold policy. That's why this book works for a season of general overviews. You hear ideas proposed, implemented, and then stress tested in wartime and recovery, and the core ideas aren't subtle. In his opening reform essay, Warburg calls a central bank the ideal solution and insists that American bankers must embrace rediscounting and acceptances, tools then viewed with suspicion in the US but routine in Europe. You can already see the blueprint for a lender of strength, not just last resort, and a market-based policy lever. He also presses the question of what the Fed should be in practice, merely an emergency fire engine or something capable of leading when conditions demand it. His own answer is both anvil or hammer, depending on what preserves stability. That debate about initiative versus restraint is baked into the institution from the start. Finally, governance and geography matter. Warburg worries that too many too small districts create narrow perspectives and political pressure, then sketches fixes like reserve super districts. Even if you disagree with his cure, the problem of how to align local knowledge with national coherence still echoes today. Across this season, we'll stay big picture, what the book covers, why the arguments were persuasive, and how they shaped the Fed you read about in headlines. Next episode, we'll zero in on the post-1907 defects and needs Warburg thought demanded reform. If you want to follow along or support historical scholarship, pick up a copy of the Federal Reserve System, its origin and growth. Owning the book lets you mark the essays we reference and see the arguments in their original language.